Ethan stepped off the shuttle onto the dusty surface of the alien planet, blinking in the strange light. The sky had a soft green hue, and two suns hung low, casting long shadows over the jagged mountains in the distance. He adjusted his backpack, feeling the weight of his tools, equipment, and the small communication device strapped to his chest. This mission was supposed to be simple: help the aliens repair their failing energy grid and leave quietly. That was what he thought, at least. The first thing Ethan noticed was how different everything felt. The air was thin yet breathable, carrying a faint metallic scent. Towering structures rose from the ground, made of shimmering materials that reflected the green light of the suns. He could see small creatures scurrying in the shadows, some with 6 legs, others floating on strange clouds of light. Nothing here looked like home, but he had learned long ago to adapt quickly. Being human meant finding solutions in situations that others might call impossible. A group of aliens approached him, their tall, thin frames moving with unnatural grace. Their skin was pale blue, almost luminous, and their eyes were large and black, reflecting intelligence and caution. One of them, wearing an elaborate robe of silver threads, stepped forward and studied him with a raised eyebrow. "You are the human?" the alien asked in a voice that sounded like wind through glass. Ethan nodded, trying to hide his unease. "That's me, Ethan, here to help with the energy project." The alien's eyes narrowed, a faint smile forming. "I am Zira. You are..." "Plain. Simple. Perhaps perfect for my sister who was raised underground." She said this with a tone that was part amusement, part challenge. Ethan had no idea what she meant, but he kept his expression neutral. "Underground?" he asked, "like a hidden colony?" Zira nodded. "Yes, she has never seen outsiders. The world above is dangerous for her. That is why I think you might suit her." Ethan blinked. Suit her? He had barely arrived and already found himself in some family matchmaking scheme. He was about to speak when Zira waved a hand and another alien stepped forward with a hover panel displaying the energy grid. "You will work here," Zira said, pointing at the panel. "The power cores are failing. You are human, but you must try." Ethan knelt beside the panel, analyzing the complex diagrams. The alien system was far beyond what he had worked with before, but his mind started mapping solutions immediately. Lines, nodes, and energy flows formed patterns he could understand. It wasn't about alien or human technology. It was about logic and problem-solving. Hours passed, and Ethan adjusted circuits, recalibrated energy nodes, and rerouted unstable power lines. Zira watched silently, occasionally whispering to the assistants beside her. At first, she seemed annoyed by his simplicity. He didn't use fancy alien techniques or ritual gestures. He just fixed problems. But the results were undeniable. The core stabilized, glowing steadily. "This human is capable," Zira muttered to herself, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Meanwhile, somewhere deep in the underground colony, Lyra watched through a hidden window. Her home was carved from crystal-lined caves, illuminated by soft bioluminescent light. She had grown up in isolation, rarely seeing anyone beyond her family and guards. Yet here was a human, the first outsider she had ever glimpsed, performing tasks with calm confidence. There was something strange about him, not his appearance, which was ordinary, but the way he moved, thought, and solved problems. Lyra had never spoken much. The underground life was quiet, simple, safe, but it had left her unprepared for the outside world. Seeing Ethan work so naturally, so calmly, sparked curiosity in her that she had never felt before. Back above, Zira led Ethan to a massive hall where the alien council gathered. It was ornate, with walls that shifted colors in time with the aliens' moods. Other nobles watched him with thinly veiled suspicion. They had never trusted humans. They thought of them as weak, unremarkable, incapable of surviving in complex systems. "You will present your solution," Zira said, her tone sharp. "Explain why your human method succeeded where ours failed." Ethan took a deep breath. Standing in front of the council, he felt their judgment, their disbelief. Yet he didn't panic. He began speaking in simple terms, explaining how logic, observation, and trial and error had led to the solution. He didn't use alien jargon, didn't try to impress them with unnecessary details. His clarity and confidence spoke for themselves. By the time he finished, there was a stunned silence. The council members whispered to each other, some frowning, some nodding slowly. Zira's eyes were unreadable, but a faint smile touched her lips. She had underestimated him, but perhaps she had also seen the qualities that could help her sister. After the presentation, Zira escorted Ethan to a smaller chamber. "Tomorrow you will meet Lyra," she said. "She is curious about the outside. You will help her." Ethan didn't understand the full implications, but nodded. "I'll do my best." The next morning, they traveled to the underground colony. Ethan had never been in such a place. The walls shimmered with embedded crystals, lighting the tunnels with soft, eerie colors. The air was cool and damp. Creatures adapted to darkness scuttled in the shadows. It was beautiful and strange, but also isolating. At the central chamber, Lyra emerged from a hidden passage. She was small and delicate, with large eyes that reflected both fear and curiosity. She stared at Ethan, silent at first. He smiled gently, keeping his tone calm and non-threatening. "Hello," he said. "I'm Ethan. I've heard a lot about you." Lyra tilted her head. "You're human," she said, as if testing the words. "I've never met anyone like you." Ethan nodded. "I've never met anyone like you either. But I think we can help each other." Over the next hours, Ethan explored the underground settlement with Lyra. He observed how carefully everything was built for survival, how the tunnels were reinforced, how the lighting conserved energy, and how food was grown in small but efficient chambers. Lyra explained the colony's rules, the precautions, and her life of isolation. She had never interacted with outsiders before, and her words were shy, cautious. Ethan listened carefully. He asked questions, shared his experiences, and slowly, Lyra began to open up. She laughed softly at his stories of Earth and space travel. She seemed fascinated not by his technology or skills, but by his perspective, his simplicity, and the calm way he approached challenges. Zira watched from a distance, her arms crossed. She had expected Ethan to impress her with human cleverness, but what intrigued her most was how naturally he connected with Lyra. The human's plain appearance and ordinary demeanor were deceptive. His courage, patience, and intellect were rare qualities that no alien she knew possessed. As the day ended, a problem arose. One of the energy conduits feeding the settlement's central chamber began to fail. Panic rippled through the colony. Guards rushed to control the situation, but the underground environment was delicate. A mistake could mean collapse or flooding. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward. "Let me help," he said. "I need to see the schematics." Lyra handed him a panel, her trust in him growing quickly. Ethan analyzed the system and immediately found the problem. A misaligned power regulator was overloading the conduit. He worked quickly, using a combination of alien tools and human improvisation. Sparks flew, lights flickered, but within minutes the system stabilized. The colony sighed in relief. Lyra's eyes shone with admiration. You saved us," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "We saved each other. You helped me understand this place. I just did the rest." Zira approached, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps you are not as plain as I thought, human," she said. "Perhaps you are." "Exactly what my sister needs." Lyra blushed slightly, unsure what to say. She had never felt this connection with anyone before. Ethan's presence was simple, honest, and unpretentious, but it made her feel safe, inspired, and curious about a world she had never seen. That night, Ethan sat alone in the chamber, reflecting on the day. He had come here expecting a simple assignment, yet he found himself in a strange society, tangled in alien politics, and now tasked indirectly with mentoring a young woman who had never seen the surface world. He smiled faintly. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy. They were called plain, ordinary, fragile. But time and again their persistence, ingenuity, and heart proved stronger than anyone expected. Lyra watched him from a distance, hidden behind a crystal column. Her fascination had grown into something more profound, a quiet admiration for this human who seemed plain on the outside, yet extraordinary in every action. Above, Zira returned to her chambers, thinking. Humans were unpredictable. They did not follow the rules of alien society, yet they succeeded in ways that no one else could. Ethan was not flashy, not intimidating, but he was reliable, clever, and courageous. Perhaps this was exactly what her sister needed. The first part of Ethan's journey ended with a quiet sense of anticipation. Tomorrow he would spend more time with Lyra, helping her explore the underground settlement and perhaps, in his own way, introducing her to the wider world above. And in doing so, he would begin to show the aliens and himself what being human truly meant. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the soft glow of bioluminescent crystals lining the underground chamber. The settlement was quiet, almost eerily so, but he felt no fear. Humans had a way of adapting to new worlds, and he had long ago learned that calmness in strange situations often brought clarity. He packed his tools, checked the energy panel he had stabilized the previous day, and prepared to meet Lyra again. Lyra appeared shortly after, her eyes wide but more confident than yesterday. "Good morning," she said softly. I thought we could explore the lower tunnels today. There are areas no outsider has seen." Ethan smiled. "Sounds perfect. Let's go." As they moved through the winding corridors, Lyra explained more about life underground. She showed him hidden gardens where tiny plants absorbed light from glowing crystals. She led him to storage rooms containing preserved food and carefully rationed supplies. Her voice carried pride in the efficiency and safety of her home. But there was also a hint of sadness. She had never left the underground, never seen the stars or felt the wind on her face. Ethan listened quietly, asking questions about the colony's design and its challenges. "You've done amazing work down here," he said. "Most people wouldn't even notice the details that make this place safe. But the real strength is how you keep it running without panic." Lyra blushed slightly. I never thought anyone would care about those things. Everyone above calls humans plain. I never knew how interesting they could be." Ethan chuckled. "Plain doesn't mean simple. Sometimes plain is exactly what's needed." As they reached a section of the tunnels that had been abandoned for decades, they heard a loud, grinding sound. Dust fell from the walls and a dim light flickered. Ethan immediately recognized the warning signs of a failing structural support. He gestured for Lyra to step back. "This area hasn't been reinforced in years," he said. "We need to fix it before it collapses." Lyra watched as Ethan worked quickly, his hands moving with precision. He used tools to stabilize the supports and rerouted some energy nodes to reinforce the area. His knowledge of engineering, combined with a calm approach, allowed him to fix the danger before anyone else could react. You saved me again," Lyra whispered, eyes wide with admiration. Ethan shook his head. "We saved each other. You pointed out the weak areas. I just knew how to reinforce them." By afternoon, the colony gathered for an unusual ceremony. The council had decided to honor Ethan, but the event had another purpose: to show him to other high-ranking aliens who still doubted his worth. Ethan stood quietly as Zyra introduced him. "This human has proven himself where others failed," she said. "His simple methods and calm thinking have saved our settlement. Perhaps his plain appearance hides something extraordinary," the council murmured among themselves. Some nodded, reluctantly impressed. Others frowned, unwilling to fully accept that a human, so ordinary by their standards, could achieve what they could not. Lyra watched from the sidelines, feeling a strange mix of pride and nervousness. She had never been in a ceremony like this, never seen humans recognized for courage and intelligence. Ethan's presence made her question everything she had been told about outsiders and the so-called weaknesses of humanity. The ceremony ended, but the celebration was short-lived. A sudden tremor shook the settlement. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and a deep rumbling echoed through the tunnels. Ethan's instincts kicked in immediately. "What's happening?" Lyra shouted, clutching his arm. Ethan scanned the energy grid. "The main power core is unstable. If it fails, the tunnels could collapse entirely. We need to move fast." They ran through the settlement, warning residents and guards. Ethan coordinated with the colony engineers, directing them to critical nodes while keeping Lyra close. Despite the chaos, he remained calm, thinking through solutions quickly. "You humans," muttered Zira, rushing alongside them. "You are unshakable." Ethan didn't respond. He focused on the task at hand. He identified the problem: a misaligned energy regulator in the deepest tunnel. If it wasn't fixed immediately, the underground city could be destroyed. "I'll need to go in," Ethan said. "Lyra, stay here and guide the engineers." "I can manage this," Lyra hesitated. "I want to help." Ethan smiled reassuringly. "You already are. Keep everyone safe and follow my instructions." With a nod, she stayed behind, her heart pounding with worry. Ethan ventured into the deepest, oldest tunnel. The walls here were cracked and weak, the light dim and flickering. He could hear the vibrations of the unstable core through the floor. Using his tools, he climbed over rubble, rewired circuits, and carefully adjusted the regulator. Sparks flew, panels hummed, and the tunnel shook violently, but he didn't stop. Finally, with a deep breath, he completed the repairs. The core stabilized, lights returned, and the tremors subsided. Ethan exhaled, exhausted but relieved. He had done what no alien engineer could. His plain human ingenuity had saved the settlement from disaster. Lyra ran to him, her eyes shining. You did it! You really did it. Ethan smiled, brushing dust from his clothes. We did it together. You stayed calm and helped the others. That was just as important. When they returned to the central chamber, the entire colony awaited them. Zira stepped forward, her expression softer than ever. You have proven that humans are not what we thought, she said. Perhaps your plainness is a strength. You are steady, brave, and clever in ways we could not expect. My sister, she will be fortunate to learn from you. Lyra looked at Ethan, her admiration now mixed with something deeper. She had always lived in fear of the unknown, but he had shown her that courage, clarity, and heart mattered more than appearances. She could see a future where she could step out of the underground and experience the wider world, guided by someone she trusted completely. Ethan, for his part, felt a quiet pride. He had never sought recognition, never imagined that a human could change the perception of an entire alien society. But he had always known one thing: humans could adapt, survive, and thrive in ways no one expected. His plainness was not weakness, it was focus, persistence, and understanding that often surpassed even the most advanced alien minds. Days passed, and Ethan continued to teach Lyra simple strategies to manage the settlement. They practiced repairing circuits, stabilizing tunnels, and problem-solving. Lyra's confidence grew with each lesson, and her trust in Ethan deepened. She laughed more freely, spoke with more authority, and even began exploring sections of the tunnel she had never dared to enter before. Zira watched from above ground, her pride in both Ethan and Lyra unmistakable. She had intended for Ethan to be a companion, perhaps even a protector for her sheltered sister, but she now realized his impact went beyond that. He was shaping Lyra into someone capable, independent, and ready to face the outside world. His influence was subtle but profound, showing the aliens that humans, even plain humans, possessed a strength that could not be ignored. One evening, after a long day of work and teaching, Ethan and Lyra sat in a quiet chamber, the soft glow of crystals illuminating their faces. You know, Lyra said softly, I never thought I could see the surface. But now I want to go above ground someday. I want to see the suns, the sky, the world outside. Ethan smiled. You will. And when you do, you'll be ready. You've learned more than you think. Lyra hesitated, then looked at him earnestly. Thank you. For showing me that being human is more than just plain. Ethan chuckled. I guess plain can be powerful. You just have to know how to use it. The night passed peacefully, but the colony remained vigilant. External threats were still possible. Other alien factions might see the settlement as weak or ripe for conquest. But Ethan's presence had changed the dynamics. The humans' ingenuity and Lyra's growing confidence made the settlement stronger than ever. Weeks later, the council called another gathering. This time it was to discuss the settlement's future. Ethan stood before them once more, explaining strategies to improve energy efficiency, tunnel stability, and resource management. The aliens listened attentively, no longer dismissing his ideas as the work of a plain human. Lyra stood beside him, quietly observing the council's reactions. She had grown immensely, learning from both Ethan's mind and his demeanor. She realized that what made humans extraordinary was not flashy technology or physical prowess. It was heart, intelligence, and the courage to act when others hesitated. After the meeting, Zira approached Ethan, her tone almost gentle. You have exceeded my expectations. You are not what I imagined, human. Perhaps my sister. Perhaps even the colony. Owes you more than you know. Ethan shrugged modestly. I just did what needed to be done. Lyra stepped forward, smiling shyly. I hope you'll stay with us. I want to learn more from you, and I want to see the world above ground with you someday. Ethan looked at her, seeing not just admiration, but a spark of curiosity and courage that he had helped awaken. I'd be glad to, he said simply. And so, life in the underground settlement began to change. The humans' plain qualities, persistence, clarity, courage, and intelligence, became a quiet force that reshaped the colony. Lyra's confidence flourished, the council's respect grew, And even Zara could not deny the profound impact of a single human who arrived plain and unassuming, but left a mark far greater than anyone could have predicted. Ethan had proven, without grand gestures or flashy displays, that humans could be extraordinary.